Hi there, I'm Cynthia and welcome to the Daily Dinner Fix, where I answer everyone's burning question, what's for dinner? Today I'm going to be making some vegetarian stuffed peppers. And before you tune me out, just hear me out because these peppers are filled with all kinds of yummy goodness and they're super simple to make. We're going to be stuffing them with farro, with black beans, and a bunch of other yummy stuff. I'll be serving them alongside some steamed rice and creamy spicy sauce. So this is definitely going to be a meal that is going to fill you up. It's a hearty meal, but it's not going to weigh you down. And trust me, you're not going to miss the meat. Let's go ahead and get started. All right, so the first step to making these peppers is getting our peppers ready. So you're gonna need 2 bell peppers for this recipe. And speaking of the recipe, I've provided a link below with full ingredients list and instructions. So for now, just follow along. So we're gonna prep our peppers. And the first thing I like to do is, because these peppers like kind of wobble unevenly and they're gonna be standing up, I kind of just want to shear just a tiny bit of the bottom off. And you can see like I hardly shaved any off. And you want to do that so that when you set it up, see how it stands flat? Yay! So that did, oh yeah, and you want to make sure you don't cut so much off that you like cut right through the pepper. So you can see that the flesh is still intact, but it is going to sit flat for you. So then you want to just cut the top off your pepper. And then this little piece in the middle, we're just going to pull that right out. And then there's like some kind of white pithy parts in here. We're just going to yank all that out. We don't want any of that. And what I have kind of on the back burner over here, I have about 2.5 quarts of water that I've seasoned with about 2 tablespoons of salt. And I'm just going to bring that up to a simmer. My other peppers here, I prepared it earlier. As soon as this comes up to a simmer, we're gonna blanch these peppers for about 3 to 4 minutes. So the purpose of blanching here is just to kind of soften the peppers up a little bit. It's not to cook them through. These are gonna finish cooking in the oven. And speaking of oven, I have a 350-degree oven preheating here. That's actually the first step you're gonna wanna take when you're making these at home. But like I said, I already had mine going. So it's ready to go, just waiting for this water to come back up to a boil. And as soon as it does, we're gonna dunk our peppers in. And actually, one other thing that I totally forgot to do, I need something to scoop them back out with because I'm not about to reach into boiling water with my hands. Not a good idea. That's up to a rolling boil now. So we're gonna dunk these in here. Make sure they're completely submerged, and they don't need to be like vertical. You can put them down on their side, just make sure they're completely covered. And I have a timer here that I've set for 4 minutes. We're gonna get that going, and again, we're just gonna blanch those for 4 minutes. Meanwhile, let's get started on our filling. Filling is super, super simple to make. What I wanna do here is just heat, you wanna like heat, this is a small skillet, but you can do this in like a medium-sized skillet. I just don't have a medium-sized skillet. We're gonna warm up about 1/2 tablespoon of olive oil, which is about 2 teaspoons, give or take. And once that heats up, we're gonna cook some onion, which is gonna be kind of like the base of our flavor. So let's kind of swirl this around to coat. Let's get our onion going in here. And we're just gonna cook these onions until they are soft and translucent, but not browned. Okay, we just want to get these nice and tender. That's gonna take anywhere from like 5 to 8 minutes, depending on how hot your pan is. And I do have this heating over like a medium heat. So our timer for our peppers just went off. So I'm gonna go ahead and just pull these from the water, being careful not to splash any boiling water on yourself. And we're just gonna invert these face down on a cutting board to let these drain while we assemble the rest of our ingredients. Now, at the same time that the peppers were done, our onions also are cooked. You can see there we go, perfectly cooked, nice and translucent. To these onions, we're gonna add a couple of things. We're gonna add couple of different spices. Let me show you here. So we've got some garlic. The recipe actually calls for garlic salt. I just didn't have any, so just made my own. Some cumin and some chili powder. We're gonna throw that all into our onions, along with some canned black beans that I've rinsed and drained, canned tomatoes that are diced, still in their juice, some farro. Gonna give this a mix, and this is all right. So that's pretty well mixed in. Our final ingredient for this, oh, actually, we had some rogue seasonings. I'm gonna get those in there. All right, so our final ingredient, grated pepper jack cheese. We're not gonna add all of this. We're only gonna add half of it because the other half we're saving for something else. That's about half. Doesn't have to be like super precise. I'm gonna mix this in until it's incorporated. The next step is to stuff my peppers, but before I do that, I wanna give this a taste, just to make sure there's sufficient seasoning in here. And, you know, depending on like the canned tomatoes you buy or the canned beans you buy, that greatly affects the volume of salt that you need to add in a dish. To taste. It's good, but it does need just like a slight sprinkling of salt, and that should be good. All right, so now what we're gonna do is remember those peppers. So we're gonna put them in our baking vessel. Because I'm only making 2 of these, I'm using a loaf pan. I just find that it's a lot easier to keep them like straight up in there. We're just gonna stuff these peppers. So take our spoon, and you'll see that's gonna start to like topple over as like the weight of the food kind of jostles that around, and you just kind of want to pack it in there. Like this whole pan of filling is gonna get crammed into these 2 peppers, so do not be afraid to pack it in. And while I'm doing this, I guess I can tell you kind of what inspired me to make this recipe. So here in Long Beach, and I live in Long Beach, California, I have a restaurant called The Attic. It's one of my favorite places in town to eat. They do kind of like a Southern American food, really yummy. They're probably most known for their like creative mac and cheeses. They do like mac and cheeses with like flaming hot Cheetos on them, which initially you're like, flaming hot Cheetos on mac and cheese. It's amazing. Anyway, every time I go there, for whatever reason, I'm always drawn to their like, they have a couple of vegetarian dishes on the menu, and I'm not vegetarian, but I do try to be conscious of the amount of meat that I eat. And I'm going to pick this up because this is getting too hard. I do try to be conscious of the volume of meat that I eat. So a couple of times that I've been to The Attic, I just always end up getting these like vegetarian peppers that they have on the menu, and they actually serve you a portion of 2, which is a very generous portion that never finish, as delicious as it is. And I try every time, and I always wind up like regretting it after because I'm stuffed, like the pepper. But anyway, they serve it alongside rice and like a creamy sauce like I'm going to be doing today. And while I don't know exactly how they make them, this is pretty darn close, and it's pretty darn delicious. So thanks to The Attic for the inspiration. So we've just about got all the filling in our peppers. As you can see, I like really had to pack the filling in order for it to all fit. So now is we're going to take, remember the other half of that cheese I was talking about earlier? We're going to take this other half of cheese, and we're just going to sprinkle it on top as best we can. It's okay if some of it like falls off over the side. You can just kind of pile it on high, and it's going to melt down the sides and be like ooey gooey, crispy, and delicious. You could certainly make this without cheese, if you wanted to do something vegan, but we're not doing that, or at least I'm not doing that today. Let's see. All right, so we got all our cheese. And what we're gonna do now is we're going to put these peppers in our 300 degree and bake these bad boys for about 30 minutes, just until everything's heated through and the cheese is melted and is bubbly and delicious. So with our peppers in the oven, it's time to make our accompaniments. And as I mentioned earlier on, we're gonna be making some white rice and a spicy creamy sauce. The rice is really just gonna be a simple white rice because I didn't want to make anything that was really gonna compete with all of the flavors that are already going on in the pepper. I kind of just wanted something that's going to absorb a lot of those flavors. So I have here just some water that I'm going to bring up to a boil, and this has already been seasoned with salt. I've got 1.5 cups of seasoned water, 3/4 of a cup of rice, and we're just going to wait for this to come back up to a boil. And there it is already. Magic of online television, I guess. So we're just going to stir our rice in, and again, this water's already been seasoned with some salt. Actually, what I did is I kind of cheated. So I took some of the water that we'd cooked our peppers in, because I didn't want to just like throw all that water out. Yeah, just used it to cook the rice in. So the salt's already in there. All right, so I'm gonna bring that up to a simmer. Gonna stick a lid on it, and we're gonna let this cook for about 15 minutes. Let me just wait for that to come to a simmer. Now, last component, the sauce. Let's make our sauce. I have here a couple of things. I'm gonna make this in one of these kind of little inverted kind of personal blenders. This isn't gonna make a whole lot of sauce, so rather than dirtying my blender, which I don't enjoy washing, I'm just gonna use this little guy. First thing we're gonna add is some mayonnaise. All right. To that, we're going to add about 1/2 cup of cilantro leaves with some of the stems, the tender stems. All right, now this is where the spice is gonna come from in like the spicy cream sauce. So I have here a whole coarsely chopped serrano pepper. Now serranos do pack quite a bit of heat. I found that in making this sauce, when I make it with jalapenos, it's never quite spicy enough. That's not to say I'm going to add this entire serrano, at least not to start. So I'm going to add maybe just like, yeah, actually I'm going to start with 2 because I can always add more. I can't take it back out. And sometimes they come out like super spicy. Most of the time they're really spicy. Sometimes they're not. So we'll kind of play by ear. And then I'm going to add some Mexican crema. Let's see. Which you can find, I think, in most grocers these days. In the dairy case, same place you'd find like the sour cream. If your local grocer doesn't carry it, they'll most certainly have it at like a Mexican market where all like the dairy is. All right, so actually let's put that over here. And then we're gonna add about 1/2 teaspoon of kosher salt. And then we're just gonna give this a blend. It's really that simple. So let me just, all right, let's give this a taste. See how we're doing in terms of like spice level and also just the seasoning. I'm a little afraid to taste this because of the serrano, I'll be honest. Oh, I'm so glad I only added 1/2 of that because that is spicy. It's perfect for me because I like heat. But if you don't, I would just steer clear of the serrano and instead go for a jalapeno, which packs far less heat than a serrano. These days, it's really rare that I even find a spicy jalapeno. But no, this is good. Again, if you like heat. So there goes our alarm for our peppers. So let's take a peek, although I'm pretty sure these are done. It smells really, really good in here. It's nothing like the smell of like bubbly, delicious cheese to get you excited about dinner. So those, as you can see, the cheese is bubbled up. It's nice and golden. And I mean, have vegetables ever looked that good? I don't know. But those look pretty darn good. So go ahead and plate this. Now our rice was done a few minutes ago. I just kind of set it aside. It's been sitting there. Actually, I'm gonna turn this oven off because it's also really hot in here. The rice was done maybe like 5 minutes ago. It's just kind of been sitting here. Let's plate this. Sorry, it's like I'm thinking about food now and I'm having trouble formulating coherent sentences at this point as a result. So first thing we're gonna do, remember that sauce? Right around the take, just a little bit of the sauce, and by a little I actually mean like half of this sauce. About, I don't know, like a little over a quarter cup of sauce going onto this plate. And we're going to add some of our rice on top of this. And if you hear that in the background, that's my husband coming home just in time for dinner. Typical. Here to eat, never to help. He knows I love him dearly. All right, so we're plating our rice. And alongside this, we're gonna take one of our peppers. He's giving me the side eye, guys. I don't think he's pleased. All right, so we're gonna take one of our peppers and we're just gonna kind of nestle it alongside. See if I can kind of get this in the camera for you all to look at. But there you have it. We've got some pepper, some sauce, some rice. Looks really yummy, right? Let's take a taste. Got the pepper, the sauce. All right, let's taste. Party in my mouth. Going back for seconds. With some rice this time because I realized I missed the rice the first time around. So good. So good. So simple to make. And meat free. Enjoy.